Hello, this is the My Artifact episode number 4060. Today's date is May 18, 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 7:52 a.m. It's very hot in here. Okay, I'm kind of like a sweating. All right. So should we jump into the question? Let's go. All right. By the way, I'm like I have this book. Like it's not really a book; it's a notebook. Basically, I was actually thinking that okay, I'm being really honest. Okay, yeah. Is this thing that I was actually thinking that the video that you might gonna see is not gonna you will not gonna see today. You will kind of see this artifact or see this video after after so many years. Okay, probably maybe after 2030 or maybe after that. So till then this video will kind of somebody just stay as it is in the YouTube feed. Okay, probably no one will gonna watch, but when I became someone or something, okay, you will definitely wanted to know me what exactly is this thing and that. Okay, so so basically it's this thing what I'm thinking that I don't know what I'm thinking. Right now I don't really have any point to kind of I said. I'm just kind of thinking about that probably this video might not gonna see for a kind of some couple of year, and after a kind of assembly after maybe kind of a 5 to 10 year, then you are started watching this video. Before that you will not gonna watch the video. Basically this video is kind of a recording on May 18 2026. May 18 2026. You probably will gonna watch this video maybe after a 5 year probably. Okay, yeah, maybe after 31 or maybe 32, like a 2031 2032 probably after you gonna watch this video. Okay, why is it kind of a private? No, it's this video will not gonna private, it is publicly available. Okay, okay, let me kind of tell you, there is a one thing that I found. Okay, yeah, so basically this thing, YouTube is a kind of a really cool thing. Okay, yeah, so if you wanted to uh, send a message, okay, to your future, how you supposed to do that? Okay, yeah, I found a way. Okay, basically you might thinking that maybe time capsule would be kind of a much more better, basically record the video, say save that video in a hard drive. That hard drive kind of put it into the time capsule, and that time capsule buried into the kind of assembly, inside the kind of assembly, the dig the hole and kind of put there for almost 100 year. And then after that, after 100 years, someone kind of dig out that hole, and they kind of take out that time capsule, and they will kind of something is this thing that he use this kind of a time capsule. This might be kind of a thing that you could kind of share the kind of a message to the future. Yeah, but there is a lot of constraint. Probably earthquake happened, the time capsule will gonna dead, or maybe hard drive will gonna dead, or whatnot will gonna happen within 100 years, or within a kind of I don't know. So basically is this thing, the more, okay, so basically the more you secure something, the more higher chances that it might get caught, might get spoiled, might get picked up, might get, okay, yeah, the more you secure. But when you have very less secure, it's kind of a publicly available, then people are kind of don't really kind of bother to look at that thing. Okay, yeah. And YouTube is a kind of one of that. A YouTube is a kind of a mountains of videos. There are so many videos, so many things, and that. Okay, so if you wanted to share a kind of a video or share a message to your future, you just kind of record the video as it is. Make sure that do not do any kind of a fancy stuff. Do not do anything. Just hit the record. Just say whatever you say, and do not do any kind of a fancy. Do not do any. Just make it as kind of as amateur as it is. Okay, video. Okay, you make that video. Okay, do not just make a one video. Make kind of so many videos, hundreds of videos and things and that. Okay, And basically what you have to do is that upload that video in a kind of like a YouTube. Okay, how you supposed to be upload a video? Upload hundreds of video in a one day, like hundreds of video in a one day. Okay, and then after that, do not upload anything at all. Okay, like basically like YouTube is a kind of like a recommend video with the consistency. Like if you are kind of like uploading video every single day, video will kind of like a consistency to find a kind of like a viewer and things and that. But if you are kind of like uploading video all at once and then after that you are not gonna upload anything at all, that video visibility is almost zero. Okay, so that video is kind of like is in front of the public, but no one kind of like sees the video, because YouTube is a kind of like a thing is that no one kind of like watching this video, so kind of like a recommend to the less. Okay, so if you wanted to share a kind of like a video to the kind of like your future, then probably what you have to do is that upload video on YouTube and kind of like make sure as amateur as it is. Okay, change the kind of like a simply thumbnail. Okay, thumbnail maybe kind of like a use such a thumbnail that kind of like a simply very just nothing, a kind of like a solid kind of like a somebody solid color would be, or maybe kind of like in the solid color add a kind of like some just kind of like a text, or maybe nothing really at all probably. Okay, or maybe kind of like AI image would be kind of like a much more better, because AI images are a kind of like a much more easier to people to not to look at. Okay, why? Because if the like AI image is always kind of like a been really always been good and things and that, so people kind of like don't really look at that thing. And also make sure that title should supposed to be kind of like as stupid as possible, like a basically this thing my artifact, or maybe kind of like a things, or maybe like a 010 to something like that. I don't know, whatever you like, make it kind of like as lazy as title, as lazy as thumbnail, or maybe do not kind of like a something like do not put any kind of like a thumbnail, just whatever it is. Okay, I just kind of like a random title and things, and just upload that video publicly, not private, publicly. Okay, and why all at once? Why hundreds of video all at once? Because of that YouTube kind of like a things that okay, this might be a kind of like a somebody spam. Okay, yeah, because hundreds of video kind of like uploaded on channel, then YouTube kind of consider as a spam, so it should supposed to be recommend to the less. So basically it's this thing that you are kind of like sharing this video on the YouTube platform, which is actually publicly available. Okay, but it's kind of like no one looked at that thing, so it's considered as a kind of like a giving the privacy, and no one will gonna watch, literally just like that. Why? Like if you are kind of like watching this video, you might gonna watch after like after 2030, or maybe after that. Okay, before that you will not gonna watch the video, that is definitely for sure. Okay, yeah, this video is uploaded in maybe kind of like a maybe June 2026. Okay, June 2026 I'm gonna upload this video. For almost like years this video will no one will gonna watch, and basically that's the kind of like a time capsule probably is this thing, that it's kind of like already available, but no one kind of like watching. So that's the kind of like a really good kind of like a basically this thing. I found a kind of like a something that key like a how should you supposed to be I found a way to how to kind of like a secure something. Okay, yeah, like how should you supposed to be kind of like a secure something so much valuable. The only one thing, if you wanted to secure something, just do not secure it, just automatically just hide its identity by itself. Okay, yeah, that's the kind of like a thing. So yeah, so that's a kind like I'm kind of like a thinking about this thing, and that's I don't know why I'm kind of like a thinking like that. Yeah, but probably this might be really good. Like okay, so should we ask question? Yeah, sorry. Okay, I wrote the question in the notebook. Okay, because my book is kind of like a very much big, cannot able to be handle that much big book. So the small notebook would be kind of like a much more easy to carry and things and that. All right. Question: how will detect the context in my app? Detect the context means what? Okay. Basically, it's a very high advanced question, but let's talk about that. All right. So I wanted to build an application called My Artifact. Okay. So what is actually my application? What exactly is this thing? When you write the diary every single day, you cannot able to be write the diary the way that you want it to. The reason is that we actually think a lot faster than we could able to be write. Why we kind of like a think a lot faster, and why we kind of like a writing so slow? uh, First of all, why we think a lot faster is because of we actually think a lot faster. Okay, yeah. We is not because of that we think really fast. No, the we think as the we normally think, but the writing is always been slower. Why? Because of that writing really required a kind of like a lot of things, like a pen, paper, convenience, and lot of things, spelling mistake, and lot of things. So because of this thing, you cannot print your thoughts that much well in the writing process. But what if instead of writing a diary, what if we could kind of like record a diary, like audio record a diary? Like I call them artifact. This audio recording diary or audio recording process, I call them artifact. The stuff that you are kind of like listening right now, this is my artifact. My artifact episode number 4016. I am doing this thing for past 11 years. I am doing this thing every single day. Because of this thing, I add so much amount of value. Recording artifact or recording audio diary or recording a diary or writing a diary is a self-reflection process. You actually connect with yourself. And because of this recording artifact, I connect with myself. The amount of value that I get from this artifact is just like the person that I became today and the person that I will become tomorrow. It is all because of artifact. The amount of value that I get from the artifact, I wanted to share this value. I wanted to share this process to the people so that they would supposed to be get the same value. But how do I supposed to do that? By building an application. My application is somewhat something like a YouTube platform. In a YouTube platform, you kind of like simply upload your video. Other people sees your video. Same thing here. You kind of like record your artifact, upload your artifact in my platform, and other people kind of like listen your artifact. Okay, it's a kind of like that. Oh boy. So this is my kind of like application. Okay, so before I wanted to build this application, I wanted to aware of all the possible consequences. So I went to ChatGPT and tell my idea that this is my application, and before I wanted to kind of like somebody do any kind of like things, I wanted to aware of all the possible consequences, all the what might gonna happen if I build this application and things and that. And if I build this thing, how do I supposed to build that thing? So suggest me almost like hundreds of questions. ChatGPT kind of like suggests me hundreds of questions. This is one of those questions. By the way, the question actually in the mobile phone, but while recording I cannot do anything at all, so that's why I wrote the question here. This is the question. Okay, so question is that how will you detect the context? Okay, what is exactly the context? The context means like that na finding the meaning of stuff. Okay, let me kind of like tell you. You are watching me right now, you are kind of like listening me right now, and you are kind of like getting information regarding about whatever the kind of like stuff that I'm saying. Okay, but you are also getting the information from everything, like my surrounding situation, the way that I talk. Basically it's this thing, we are kind of like telling a story through multiple ways. First of all is that we are telling a story through your mouth. Okay, but also we are telling a story through visual context. Okay, you are understanding the background, you are understanding me, you are understanding the kind of like somebody, how do I look and things and that. Okay, also you are getting a context regarding about that how do I say, how do I speak. Okay, like if I'm kind of like speaking right now, so you are kind of like a feeling that this particular person is a confidence. You are kind of like getting a lot of sense regarding about when the people actually talking to you. Like basically it's this thing. Now let's just say, have you ever kind of like experienced that you are kind of like talking to somebody and you are kind of like a kind of like getting that his sound, and you might gonna kind of like thinking that the other person might gonna crying. So you are saying that are you crying? Okay, So you're getting the context now. You are getting the context regarding about that does other person is actually crying or what. So that is called context. You are kind of like a something, just not kind of like a getting the information through the words. You are also getting the information through the voice pattern. You are also getting the information from tone. You are also getting the information from kind of like a something, how does other person kind of like a speak and things and that and that. Let's just say a particular person is a kind of like a recording artifact, and he's heartbroken. Oh yeah, he is heartbroken, and kind of like a things that he like the way that he kind of like a sound is kind of like a very sad or kind of mute, or maybe kind of like a very much like a like our emotions are kind of like a interact with our kind of like a something, our interact with our whatever the stuff that we say. Like if I'm being sad, my voice would be kind of like a little bit of slower, or maybe yeah, when I'm kind of like a really excited, I will gonna talk fast. When I'm kind of like a something really nervous, I'm kind of like a very like a slow, or maybe something like that. It's just not because of that like how I talk slow and fast. It's because of the tone too. Like our tone is a kind of like a bit more different. I sound like a little bit of confidence, but when I was kind of like a very sad, my sound little bit of change. Okay, so basically our emotions are kind of like somebody derive the how do we supposed to be talk, and other person kind of like a understand from that context. That is called context, that we understand the kind of like somebody how that other person kind of like a talk, and we understand the context. Okay, so basically is this thing that it does my application, does my artifact will kind of like understand the context. Well, in future, yeah, like I'm not really sure how it will gonna happen, but it will. Okay, yeah, because my application is actually powered by AI, and AI just not kind of like a transcript the kind of like a text into the like audio into the text. It kind of like understand the meaning, surrounding situation, or a kind of like a some is this thing that key. I don't know. Okay, yeah, like basically if the particular person kind of like a getting the heart broken, then basically is this thing that particular person actually talking about the heartbroken and things and that, then kind of like a people will kind of like understand that this particular person actually heartbroken. But not just the people, but kind of like a system will understand that. System is not just kind of like a transcript the kind of like a somebody audio into the text. It also understand the pauses. It also understand the how we should supposed to be talk regarding about all the previous data. The system understand that this particular person is actually excited because of he talk really fast, and right now he's a kind of like a not talking fast, so probably he might be kind of like a very like sad or emotional and things and that. Then system try to understand what he was talking about. He was talking about the breakup story, so probably he is kind of like a sad, he kind of like a broke up and things and that. So basically system kind of like analyze that this particular person kind of like went through very terrible situation regarding about relationship, so it add automatically a tag regarding about that relationship kind of like a chaos and things and that. So whatever the person kind of like talking about the relationship things, that particular artifact is actually tagged by kind of like a relationship issues or things or relationship breakup and things and that, so that the other user who are kind of like searching for this particular topic of artifact, they are kind of like getting the same artifact, and they will kind of like somebody resonate with much properly. Like instead of kind of like a user kind of like a tag his artifact, system will kind of like analyze the kind of like whatever the person kind of like a talk, and try to kind of like give you the tagging regarding about the whatever the situation surrounding and things and that, which will kind of like really help for the other user to find out that what is actually happening when the kind of like a user will kind of like get into heartbroken and things and that. And yeah, it's a kind of like a things that probably try to find out the things. Okay, yeah, AI could kind of like really help for every possible way. Like basically is this thing, have you ever kind of like experienced that YouTube is a kind of like somebody have a automatic tagging feature? Like suddenly there is a kind of like some sort of random videos actually pop up in front of you that you might not kind of like understand that why this kind of like this kind of like a video is resonate with me, is because of that backend YouTube is a kind of like understanding your context, understanding your day pattern and things and that. And regarding about that, it kind of like suggests such a kind of like a video that kind of like you love to watch, you love to resonate and things and that. that is called kind of like a finding the context and kind of like a things and that. Okay, so that is what it is. All right, so this then I will not gonna talk about much more. Like I'm not really tired, but I'm kind of like a really like a hot. It's a very hot weather. I'm kind of like sweating all over. And yeah, this is it. Thank you.